I've talked about DAngelo Russell in the past, but 2K just released his rating for 2K18, so I have an opportunity to get some views here. They have him at an 80 overall, and to put it bluntly, I think that is way too damn high for what Russell is, as well as what he is not. I feel like people, they really seem to like the guy, and I look at the stats, and I look at what he's done in his first 2 seasons, and I'm like, what? So, to me, if I'm going to give someone an 80, or maybe a little higher than an 80, I would think of someone like George Hill, a guy who, this previous season, and we're using the future teams for their footage, because why not? But this previous season, he shot 47% from the field, which is very good. He was an awesome 3-point shooter. He scored, about 16 points a game, and he was just kind of good at everything, is the best way I would put it with George Hill. But at the same time, he's not a star player. He's not someone who's going to consistently, beat the defense one-on-one. And his passing was, okay, which to me warrants an 80 or maybe a little higher than that. I should also say he's a very good defensive player. That's an important one as well. Just having a strong all-around game. When I compare that to DAngelo Russell, I just don't see how Russell really gets that high. If I could talk about what he does well first, he's a pretty good 3-point shooter. I mean, 35% while attempting about 5 or 6 threes a game. That's pretty solid. He's a guy who can spot up off of a ball handler, but I would say he can also create some of his own 3-pointers as well. Not like Steph Curry or James Harden levels, but it's a thing he can do. So, DAngelo's got that going for him. The thing is, everything else, I don't see how he warrants an 80. For one, he shoots barely over 40% from the field, which is flat out bad. And pretty much from anywhere other than 3-pointers and a very select area around the paint, he just doesn't shoot well from the field. He shoots 38% from mid-range, which is under league average. Unfortunately, because the guy's not a super athlete, these are the type of shots that he ends up taking a lot, and because he's just not good at them, well, here we are. And then, when it comes to shooting at the basket, that lack of athleticism comes out once again for DAngelo. The guy shoots a tad under 54% at the basket, and when you look at some of the better point guards in the NBA, they're just higher from there. Isaiah Thomas is around 56%, Russell Westbrook is higher, Steph Curry is around 60%. I'll mention George Hill once again. Hill shoots about 62% at the rim, so Russell has a ways to go when it comes to finishing inside. I'm failing to see where the guy really warrants getting an 80. Now, we can talk about his passing. I mean, he's cool. He averaged 4.8 assists this previous season for the Lakers, but I feel one thing that gets overlooked is his turnovers. He averaged 2.8 turnovers a game. So you could basically round it up to every game he's going to get 5 assists as well as 3 turnovers. That's just flat out not good. So I don't see a world where his passing IQ and those attributes for 2K would be high enough to get to an 80. And I mean, I understand that the dude has some potential, sure, but this is right now, and I don't really see how his first 2 seasons in the NBA would get you to an 80 overall in 2K. Then we can talk about his defense. It's not good, is the best way to put it. So, I mean, we have a guy who's not a good defensive player, gets a crap ton of turnovers to not get that many assists, doesn't shoot well from the field at all, and he's an 80 overall in 2K18? That puzzles me quite a bit. I mean, to me, DAngelo Russell gives off, at the most, a 75 overall sort of vibe. And again, I'm not saying the dude can't get better, but this isn't a conversation about if he can get better. This is a conversation about what he's done up to this point. So, that's it. I would say the type of thing that could get him to an 80 to me would be if he improved significantly in his efficiency. Because, like I mentioned, 40% just isn't good whatsoever. So, I mean, if he was shooting better from the field and he had a few more assists, or maybe if just his turnovers were down and he was a little more respectable of a defensive player, I could see it. But for what DAngelo is, I really don't see how an 80 overall makes sense. But, it's 2K for you.